Welcome to Latino Talk TV. I'm your host, Ben Mendez, and I'm joined today by Mr. Javier Perez. And today we have a beautiful day in Houston. We're live right here in the studio in Houston East End. And we're going to talk to some veterans today about some very important things that they're doing. But first, we're going to talk about current events. As you know, we had Germany play against Argentina in the World Cup.
I did not see that coming.
Well,
Get it?
I'll tell you what, it was a great game.
Yeah.
And hats off to Germany for winning the World Cup. But you know what? That puts the U.S. in a good light because, as you know, they lost 2-1 to Germany. Okay. Now, my thoughts are the U.S. is going to go in with a lot of confidence in 4 years.
Yeah. I think you're right, Ben.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think the sky's the limit for that U.S. team. They've really come along. And I tell you one thing, it's amazing how the U.S. has really started getting behind soccer. You know, it's never happened before.
Well, Houston Dynamo helps a little bit here in Houston, get more people interested. The ladies team, the professional ladies soccer team here.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, you have a lot of youth programs that are out there for soccer.
Yeah, aren't your kids playing soccer?
My kids, I actually coach soccer. Yeah. That's correct.
And you don't know nothing about soccer.
But I don't know anything about soccer. I don't want to mislead.
He's a great coach, though.
But I enjoy working with the kids.
Yeah.
On a bad note, Argentina fans had a riot.
Oh, they did?
That's correct. They had a riot after the game. And so there was like 140 plus people arrested. They had broken all kinds of windows in different businesses and cars. It's unfortunate that happened. You know, anytime you have a big loss like that, you expect some kind of trouble. But that was a lot of people involved in that.
Man, where do these people think they're from? Detroit? What's up?
I have no idea, but it was bad news for everybody there. Yeah. Now, let's talk about another issue. As you know, we have a hot immigration issue on the border.
I tell you, Ben, that's really
right.
It's really sad. It's really sad to see the response that we're getting here in the States about these kids. And these are children we're talking about.
So we have a Democrat, Mr. Henry Cuellar. He's a congressman out of the Valley. And we have one of the senators that are actually, that's a Republican senator, is going to actually introduce a bill on both sides of the House and the Senate to see what we can do about the immigration issue.
I tell you, they need to do something. I mean, something needs to be done, and we need to quit looking at politics and really help these kids. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, some of the resolution we've been getting from, for instance, from Lamarck and Galveston saying they don't want those kids here.
Yeah.
Here and you know, you look at that, and it's just it's not different from a child showing up at your front door and refusing to help them. You're just going to shut. You tell me you're just going to shut. You see a child come up to your front door and needs help. You're just going to shut the door in his face? Come on now.
Well, the senator involved in this is Senator McCain. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have Senator McCain, which obviously he's far right, or I would say not as far as our own senator, Senator Cruz, but he's far right. And then we have someone that's far left. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of compromise that we get out of the two. Now, whatever is pushed on to the House and the Senate, it's not going to happen right away. Right now, the president has the authority to make some changes, and he has done so. Just recently, he sent 40 kids back to Honduras. Actually, they arrived today by plane. They went to Honduras. Now, if that sets a precedent to other countries, I don't know. So we'll see what happens the next couple of days.
I tell you, what were the circumstances? Why did they send them back so quick? Or had they been in the system a while?
No, they had never been in the system, and that remains to be seen. I'm sure we'll hear about it in the news tonight. But it's unfortunate that we had 52,000 kids since last October come to the United States. And we're talking about kids of all ages, okay? Now, what the cartels did and whatever happened behind the scenes, we'll never know. But the word is basically that there's these parents, some of them are being threatened by the cartel.
Absolutely, yeah.
And these kids are brought over. Of course, the cartel is going to make some money on them, as always, because they don't do it for free.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that the people that are really responsible for this, they probably will never see prison, okay? They probably will get away with murder, right?
Yeah.
But we have to set policies in place, the U.S. government does, in order to alleviate some of this border trouble that we're having.
And these were policies and laws that were instilled by the Bush
Well, you know what?
Bush administration.
And,
Is that right?
And I disagree with you, and I disagree. I'll tell you why.
No. Wait. You can't disagree.
I disagree with you.
You can't disagree that those policies were put in place then.
These are policies that have been going on year after year after year. You can't blame a certain party. And by the way, I'm a Democrat, but you cannot blame a certain party. It's a little bit of everybody. Okay.
I'm not
whether you're
calling
Republican,
but
Democrat,
law has
or
to be
vegetarian, or whatever it is that you are.
The rule of law has to be followed, Ben. That rule of law was introduced in the Bush administration.
Throughout the years, the immigration policy has evolved. Okay, so you cannot blame a certain party. The way I look at it, everybody's to blame in Congress.
Oh, absolutely. Plenty of blame to go around.
They're playing party politics.
Yeah.
Party politics. You're either going to vote with the Republicans or you're going to vote for the Democrats. Okay, we need to stop that. We need to work together. And somehow we need to compromise. Real simple. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But, you know, they're going to be playing the blame game from here till kingdom comes, you know. And that's only going to make it worse.
Okay.
Make things worse.
On a positive note, I want to thank you for the graduation that you all had on behalf of the Leadership Institute on Friday. Y'all did a great job. You graduated class 11. Leadership Institute, in case you don't know what it is basically a 6-month course that students go through they're adults, and they learn how to become leaders in the community if they're not already.
Right.
And Mr. Javier is our executive director, and he did a great job with the group. And I think there was like 20-something students.
There was 20 students.
20 students?
20
Okay.
students that graduated.
Johnny Mata received the leadership award, and you presented
Lifetime Achievement Servant Leadership Award. He sure did.
By all means, Johnny deserves it because he's been fighting for the community for a long, long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know how old he is, but I'm sure he's at least 70 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's in the mid-70s, yeah.
And I'm glad to see him get an award when he's still alive, because many times we give awards to people that are deceased, and you know, it's good for the family, but I would rather see the person that deserves it get the award.
You know, and Johnny's he's still doing it, man. He's still out there in the mix.
He's a little guy, but I tell you what, he's a little firecracker.
Chiquito pero picoso.
That's
like
it.
They say. That guy, he's been doing it since. Oh man, I remember my whole adult life. I remember Johnny Mata. You know what, Ben, and I was going to tell him, and I didn't at the ceremony, but. You know, if you ain't getting death threats, you ain't doing it right.
That's
and
right.
You know that because you've gotten a few death threats yourself.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes you got to rock the boat.
Yeah.
If you're going to do the right thing, you have to go against the grain, go against the leadership, go against whoever. If you're on the right side, then there's no reason why you shouldn't fight for it.
Absolutely. I tell you, I've never gotten a death threat. They just called me an idiot a couple times, but no death threats yet.
So, in a minute, we're going to come back and we're going to talk to some veterans, and as well as some organizations that are involved in promoting what's going on with our veterans. And I tell you what, I'm excited because my father was a Vietnam vet, and he's deceased now. But I really wish that he had seen some of the things going on now for vets. I don't think he got what he deserved. When he came back from Vietnam, there was a different perspective of things. So I'm glad to see it. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I think anything we could do for the vets of any war is well deserved.
We'll be back in 2 minutes. We're going to talk to people from Silent Heroes. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Latino Talk TV. Now we're going to talk to a group with silent heroes and talk to our veterans. And I'll tell you what, Javier, I know your dad was recently honored in Washington, D.C. for his service.
He sure was.
He served in the Korean War?
Korean War with the
Korean
65th
War.
Infantry out of Puerto Rico.
So it's always a pleasure to honor our veterans. And we have our guest here. We have Stella Lujan. She's an organizer with Silent Heroes. We have David Cortez, who is a freelance filmmaker. And then we have our vet, Raul de la Paz. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So tell us a little bit about Silent Heroes.
Well, Silent Heroes came about 3 years ago, and I decided to do it only because my whole family is veterans and are in the military. So one day I just decided to put together pictures and go to a restaurant and have our cousins come and do speeches, and it just became bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we're in our third year, and it's more of a veteran awareness events that I do. So, and in it, we do documentaries, we do stories. Kids are very involved in it, very involved. And we've been fortunate enough to go to TBH on our second event that we had last year. This year, we're going to Ripley House because now we're talking about 500.
For the viewers' sake, TBH stands for Talento Bilingüe de Houston, which Javier runs over there in the East End.
Absolutely. And we had them there last
year.
well, it was around Memorial Day, wasn't it?
November.
It
We
was
have our events in
I think
November.
right before
yes.
Memorial Day, and,
Right.
and they had it was a great event. Now, how did you? What made you get interested in helping promote veterans' activities?
Well, I'm married to a Vietnam veteran to begin with, and I've been a photographer all my life here in Houston, away from all of that. And you know, I met him right after he came back from Vietnam, and we married a few years later. But you live with them, you work with them, you raise kids, but you never ask. And that's why I call it Silent Heroes, because they never talk about it. And all these years, we've helped David with his documentaries, and I started hearing stories about veterans, and I started looking at this man in a different light. So I thought, you know what?
When you say this man, you're talking about your
My
husband.
husband, yes. And his dad was also in the military in Second World War, and all my cousins were that are in his documentary now, and it just started snowballing. It's huge, and it's awareness for not only us but children to listen to their stories, and it's become very, very big, and we're honored, to tell their stories.
So tell us, David, what exactly are you doing with the veterans?
Well, right now, what we decided to do for the future years is to make a documentary to add to the collection of the poetry and the readings and stuff like that. So I was talking to my aunt, and I said, we should make a documentary based on Hispanic culture, its involvement in the Vietnam War. So we kind of researched and found a story from one gentleman that we recently did another documentary with, and his name is Juan Cifuentes. And his dad was in a band called Conjunto Bernal. And they were one of the first Latin American bands to go and perform for American troops in another
for
country.
the Vietnam.
So they went to Vietnam and they performed for them. And so little by little we started kind of researching and interviewing and just kind of documenting different stuff about this event. And it became very cool and interesting. And one of the persons that we met was Raul de la Paz. He was a band member when Conjunto Bernal came back from Vietnam, but he was also one of the gentlemen that was able to perform in a band because of the fact that band members were going overseas and participating in the war due to the draft. So the draft opened it up for young gentlemen that always wanted to perform and play for these bands. It opened up space for them to play for them. And he can tell you a little bit about that too. So.
Yeah, Raul, let's hear from you. What are some of your experiences?
Okay, I came out of Vietnam in 68, 69, and Conjunto Bernal had already been over there, and I met Conjunto Bernal as I was growing up, playing with band members here and there, just house practice, garage bands and stuff like that, and amongst the knowing Bernal, I always desired to play with that group, and For instance, this little short story that I would admire that band because I mean they were just the top group of the Chicano music, Tejano music, and I would climb up this. I would go to this dance hall where I would climb on top of a water here and listen to him play, and I would just admire him because they would play good. You know, I said, man, I wish I could play with this group one of these days. So years went by. I went to Vietnam, came back, and it came to be that I played with that band, and it just so inspired a lot of Tejano soldiers back in those days that were in Vietnam because it sort of pushed, made us aware that we're Americans and we served in Vietnam, and we had I didn't have the privilege to hear them play in Vietnam, but other Tejano guys, soldiers, listened to that band, and it was just a big part to our a part of life as you were in the service, and it just all came together. You know that it was such an experience that it was just something that it all came together.
So Raul, were you in Vietnam?
Yes, sir.
When Bernal played?
No, sir. I played. Bernal played over there. I joined Conjunto Bernal in the mid '70s.
But were you serving in Vietnam when they were there?
No, sir. I joined. I played over. I mean, I was in Vietnam in '68, '69, but they had already been over there.
Oh, really?
It's kind of hard for me to imagine. Okay, so you have how many troops over there that were listening to the music over there?
Hey, beaucoup.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about
Buku,
you.
yeah,
but it's
Vietnam language there.
kind of hard for me to imagine. You have all these troops of all nationalities, right?
Yes.
And
then
they're
you have a
playing for this.
Tejano
Yeah, they're playing
band.
for everyone.
Yes, yes.
That must have
Hey,
been amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and it just gave you that pride being a Tejano, excuse me, and having a group go to Vietnam and play for our troops, Tejano soldiers over there. Because I was already over here and been to Vietnam and everything, but it made me feel so. You know what,
Oh, it
man?
had to be a source of pride for you.
I'm happy to be a Tejano, and Latin American, and to have been in Vietnam. You know, and it just makes you feel more united with your people, and take pride in who you are.
So Silent Heroes has teamed up with Cortez Films. I'm assuming that's Cortez Films is owned by you.
Yes.
Okay. So Silent Heroes, are you interviewing different vets about different issues that happened during the war, or are you just doing after the fact?
This right now is the first project that we're working on, and we actually had a few different subject matters that we could have choose from. But this is the one that kind of sparked our interest first, and we said, you know, we're going to take this one and we're going to develop it. So it's going to be around 35 to 40 minutes long, so it's taking a little time in production to work on it.
Just you, or you have a team helping you?
I have a very small team. My aunt is my producer.
You're the team, huh?
We're the team, pretty much. And my
Okay.
uncle, he helps us too.
Okay.
And then my cousins, they help us do an interview and stuff like that. But pretty much as far as production goes, I'm a one-man team. I shoot, edit, light. So that, yeah, I mean, that's how we kind of done it. Before we did one, it was called the Tradition, and it was about a family band that I was following around that they've always played Tejano music. They're like a third generation Tejano band, and they're locals. And it was kind of the story about why people continue this tradition, you know, why they play Tejano music. And we kind of broke it down that it's a tradition, you pass it on. You know, it's a willingness to play because of the fact that your parents played and your grandparents played, you know.
David has no idea, but he has to go through initiation on the show. You know, whenever we have anybody that does Tejano music or anything like that, they have to dance for the cameras.
And sing.
Well, good thing I don't do Tejano music.
And by the way, you do have a backup singer. Javier. Javier can sing. You think I'm kidding, but I'm being serious. He can sing.
Didn't know that.
He's a mariachi at heart.
Right,
Yeah, he can sing.
I've been
good to
thrown out
know.
of the best Tejano, I mean mariachi bars out there.
It's good to know that.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about karaoke. I'm talking about the real thing. He can really take a note and go
I
with it.
appreciate that,
That's
man.
what it
Thank you.
takes. Yeah.
I tell him everything he knows. So let's talk
Beautiful.
about. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let's talk about you. So, you know, Vietnam happened a long time ago. 60, what, 68?
67.
I came back from Vietnam in '69.
So,
I was when the Tet
so
offense
let's just say 70 to 2014, 34 years later. What sparked the interest?
I've been married to my husband for 30 years.
Okay.
So it's always been there. When one of my uncles passed away, and he was a Air Forceman, and when he passed away, 7 of our cousins got up and saluted his final salute, and that kind of, being a photographer and into the arts and stuff, you're seeing all this, things that have been asleep all these years are now awakening, let's say. And nobody ever says thank you, especially to our own family. We have the Cepedas, who are 4 brothers that were in 4 wars, and 4 different wars, So my pictures that I put up of my veterans are all brothers that are on boards, fathers and sons, grandfathers, friends, World War II, World War I. We just do a little bit of letters that they were sent home, just a lot of things that we put together. I have noticed that now lately when we put our boards up, people come and put pictures of their own families and with a little piece of tape put them on there. And I wish they would leave the names and ranks and all that so we can actually put their names on there. But that feels so good to know that it's awareness. And not only that, but for the kids to say, like, he's so interested in our culture. Well, our culture, guess what, went to war from World War I on, So I'm so happy for that. I'm happy for my granddaughter and everyone who's involved. These gentlemen from Kingsville are phenomenal. I mean, we have 2 Vietnam veterans that actually saw Conjunto Bernal play, and they grew up with him, went to junior high and high school with him, and we have them in the documentary.
It took us a while to find them, but we found
Where
them.
we found them.
If I may say
Yes.
something, I appreciate what Stella's saying and her nephew, David, and y'all's time, because at the time we all came home, I came back in '69, nobody recognized us back then. We just, they thought I was somewhere picking cotton or something. But the thing is that through the years, that there was a lot of us that were, had mental, physical issues, and I've recently, got recognized, that acknowledged that I was exposed to Ancient Orange, and it is people like this that put it out there for us,
Awareness.
and they hear about it, and they gave us the strength to go out there and focus in our rights as being ex-veterans, and what's out there for us.
Sure.
So it takes a lot of good people to do what they're like, people like this. So I really admire people like this.
And also you have to understand that my husband and I and David, we all go on our money. It takes money to do a documentary. It takes a lot of time and effort. But we believe in this kid really so strongly. So we pack him up. We go wherever we have to go. We pay for his dinner. We pay for wherever we stay at, and we're receiving.
Free rent?
I wish.
David, so where is your documentary complete?
It's in the stages of being complete. We've shot everything. Everything's shot.
Everything's done.
Right now, it's in the editing stage. We're having a gentleman work on the score for us, and I'm also doing some animation in the film. There's a lot of stuff that we couldn't reenact. I guess we could have reenacted it
We didn't have pictures,
through
yeah.
visuals and stuff, but the way we decided to do this is more of an animation reenactment. I like to, I like to watch films as well as make them. So a lot of the newer documentaries have this cool, motion graphic stuff to them, and that's kind of what I'm into. I like that kind of stuff. I feel like it's a little different than the older type of kind of reenacted, I guess, documentary driven through narration. I like to have the documentaries driven through the voices of the people that are being interviewed. So it drives through, the story drives through them,
And also the music.
And the music.
The
drives
music
as
that
well.
we are putting in there is by another gentleman who is a big, He's a singer, right?
Freud.
You
Freud.
want me to sing for the video?
Actually, we're putting some of my music from Grupo Feliz.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were doing this at Troy's studio, and
Troy Ortiz.
he just looked at the.
And notice
It
they
is-
didn't even respond to my request.
They must have heard you sing before.
Hey, we haven't finished yet. There's room for you.
You have to
this
audition
man-
though, but
Oh yes, big time.
I'll use his voice. So let me ask you this. So did you graduate in film?
yes, I
or
graduated.
You have a
from the
degree in
University of Houston. Yes, media
Okay.
productions.
So this isn't something that you do as a hobby. This is what you do full time.
Yes,
The
yes.
real thing.
Okay.
Yes.
And so the love of video and all that, really you put your heart and soul into it, right? Because when you like doing something, you put more into it, right? So I'm glad to see you're doing this. Congratulations to you for all your efforts. As young as you are, I think it's awesome.
So David, what's the timeline for your documentary? When you gonna?
Right now,
Pre-
we're planning on
premiere-
showing it in
premiere it.
October. Do you know the name of the film festival? We have a few film festivals right now that want to kind of show it.
Is that the one Encuentro Film Festival? Are you gonna be showing
We
it there?
well, we've seen a few that we're aiming to, but first we want to put all our efforts into him finishing.
Yeah.
It takes money to do all this and time, so we're really,
We're aiming for October, but it depends. It can
Yeah.
go a little longer.
maybe
but-
November, not after. We're trying to get for
So-
Veterans Day.
So where are you going to showcase it? Where do people see it?
Well, right now, I guess you can go to the Silent Hero Facebook page, and you
To
can
see the
you can
trend.
like that. If you're on Facebook, you can like the Silent Hero page, and then in that page I'll have a trailer posted, so you can check out the poster.
Check the
So
trailer.
the poster is in there too, and the trailer. You can also on Vimeo. You can look it up. The Silent Hero. It's actually the Valley to the Jungle is the name of the documentary.
From the valley to
From
the
the valley to the jungle.
Yes, that's the name of it.
So I tell you, we could probably use them at Talento Bilingüe de Houston showcase.
We're aiming to hit him for.
I know somebody over there.
Yeah, we will here in Houston. We'll probably showcase.
That would be
it.
great.
Absolutely,
Great place
we'd
to
be, we'd
showcase.
be more than happy to showcase that film.
And we're also Corpus Christi is one of our biggest. We're going to go definitely because a lot of these veterans are from South Texas, so we're definitely going to showcase it over there, all through the valley.
Well, when you're talking about the Tejano music, you can't leave out Corpus, right?
No,
Oh,
that's in Corpus. and
one of the
valley,
main-
right.
Do you have Freddie Fender by any chance in there? No Freddie Fender?
No Freddie Fender. No.
Oh,
Freddie.
you have any last minute questions?
Boy, I tell you what. So, can you maybe just give us an overview of the film itself?
Yes.
What are you following when you're saying this from the valley to the jungle? What exactly are
Does
what,
that mean?
what are you what are you actually doing in the film?
Well, the film, we call it From the Valley to the Jungle because it's about a band that traveled from the valley to the Vietnam jungle. And so that's where the title came from. And basically, it starts off on why, the need for this band going over there. And that's what we were talking about earlier, what's interesting is how many Hispanic people were in the Vietnam War. That there was enough Hispanics there for them to send a Tejano band to Vietnam.
The USO.
So that's the kind of the whole purpose I'm trying to get from the story is that there was, and not only do Hispanics, not only did they participate as in being drafted or joining volunteering for the Vietnam War, but they also participated in other ways, like band members that went and played for the troops.
And they took him in a journey. They actually takes you through a
So-
journey.
Okay.
I guess to sum up the movie itself it's the story of a band that travels to Vietnam, and they figure out this uncharted territory that pretty much the same aspect that the 19-year-old gentlemen were doing when they would go to Vietnam and they would figure out, okay, I'm at war. That's the same concept that we get through the band themselves.
The loneliness and
So I appreciate you coming out and sharing your story with us. One request. Do you have a website that you can share with our viewers? And look right into that camera over there.
Well, it's Silent Heroes, and it's on Facebook and
SilentHeroes.org, SilentHeroes.com.
.com.
.com.
SilentHeroes.com.
Okay, so they can
And-
get all the information there on the website.
Yeah, we have everything there. We have his trailer, and we have gentlemen that we've talked to. It's not just Vietnam; it's also World War II, and all the wars that we've. Gentlemen.
All right, one last time. Am I gonna sing on the video?
Yes, you're gonna sing in the.
You're gonna be there, both of you.
We'll put you on the credits at the very, very
We'll
end of
put
the
you in the-
credits.
All right, we're gonna
Oh,
be back
yeah.
in 2 minutes. We're gonna talk to some veterans that are also part of this. So thank y'all again.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you in 2. Welcome back to Latino Talk TV. I'm your host, Ben Mendez, joined by Mr. Javier Perez. Now, today we're going to talk to some silent heroes. And as you all know, that we've had some major problems with the Veterans Administration recently. And so we have one vet here, and actually here with the family. So I'm glad y'all are here. Thank y'all for coming, Jessica.
Thank you for having us.
And Jessica's here with her husband.
No, this is a friend of the family. He's
Friend of the family. Okay, so
Family.
we have Kenny, and then we have Frances, the mother.
Right.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about Kenny.
Kenny is actually my cousin, and he was in Iraq.
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Kenny, do you want to tell a little bit more about yourself, your story?
Yeah, I guess since you don't know it. No, I was in Afghanistan in 2003, 2004 with the Army, and I was injured with I sustained a bullet into my head and my left cheek, and it came out the right corner of my forehead up here. And it just ended up taking my sight, my smell, my taste, my brain, pretty much everything.
So how long were you in the hospital?
I got out pretty quick for such a big injury. I was in for about 8.5 weeks. I mean, I flatlined 4 times. ICU for about 4 weeks, and then I just went to another VA hospital in Minneapolis, and then stayed there for about 4 weeks, and then got to go home to Fort Drum, New York. So I got out pretty quick with a gunshot wound.
He underwent a 10-hour brain surgery. They had to remove the front lobe of the brain because it was already dead. So they removed that, and then this part of the brain is also gone. So it was a miracle that he lived, because the doctor said he should not be alive, but it was a miracle that he lived.
So what? And you were in combat in Afghanistan.
Yes, sir.
What unit were you with?
I was with Apache 317 Cavalry.
Hmm.
I was a Cavalry Scout.
So were you guys on a mission at the time, or was this a random shooting?
We were on a mission by the Pakistan border, and we came back to get more ammo when unfortunately one of my own guys shot me.
Okay, so it was an accidental shooting.
Yes, it was a friendly fire.
Okay, and so I'm assuming that the other person obviously knows what happened. I mean, are you close to that gentleman?
He knows what happened, but I've tried to get in contact with him. This happened in 2004, and then I've tried to get in contact with him the past 9-10 years, but so far I've been unsuccessful.
I'll
Wow.
tell you what. You're a great man. You're very courageous for even going to the military, for one. But the mere fact that you have family support, that says a lot about your mom.
Yes.
Your mom's here to support you 100%. Obviously, she's been taking care of you, right?
Right.
So I'm
Yes.
assuming that it's a 24/7. You're there, hand and foot, doing whatever he needs done. So my hat's off to you as well.
Thank you.
And so your role in this, what do you do for him?
Well, the connection that I have with Kenny is that I'm helping my grandmother, who was Stella Lujan, who you spoke with earlier, and my cousin David Cortez. I am basically doing the blog for Silent Heroes. And it's not necessarily a specific blog, it's a branch off of the Silent Heroes page. And what it's called is, it's called Bridging Voices. And what that means is that I am taking any veteran's voice and story, and I'm bridging it with the younger generation, like myself, so that way we can understand.
Like
and really know-
ourselves.
Like ourselves. So we can understand and really know what happened. I mean, because a lot of the times we listen, but we don't hear, we don't understand. We know what we learned from school. And honestly, talking with Kenny and a lot of these other veterans, I've learned more now. No offense to my school, but I've learned more now just because it just means more to me. We're actually hearing their stories.
Wow. And tell me what, Kenny, how has your perspective changed, and what have you learned from your experiences?
I'd say, you can't take nothing for granted at all, because, one day you can have sight, the next second it's gone in the blink of an eye. I wouldn't say I didn't take life seriously, as a kid or a teenager, or when I was in combat, but now I do take it a lot more serious. I'm glad that I have my legs or my arms,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of my guys out there, they're alive, but they don't have legs or they don't have arms.
Yeah.
So me not having sight, I mean, is kind of like a boo-boo compared to my guys who don't have legs or arms, or didn't even get to come home with us when we came back home. So I take it very seriously.
So did you have to relearn everything?
I had to relearn everything.
Did you have to learn how to speak?
I learned how to speak, talk, walk, balance, eat, bathe, dress, you name it. I got shot when I was 23. I was a 23-year-old baby. I had to relearn everything.
I never left his sight, though. I was with him at Walter Reed and at Minnesota. I was with him day and night. I would walk down the halls with him day and night. I trained him to eat, to walk. The nurses would help,
Sure.
but I wanted to do it because it was my baby.
Of course, I congratulate him. I mean, her. for doing
Absolutely.
this. I mean, I tell you what,
Absolutely.
It's heart-wrenching to hear the story, but you know what? It needs to be heard, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And for the viewers out there, I forgot to mention one thing, that you can call in. This is live TV, by the way. You can call in and participate in this discussion. You'll see a number on the bottom of your screen. And if you call in, you have 19 minutes to participate, because the show will be over in 19 minutes. So tell us a little bit more, Kenny. What is it that you learned from this experience? I know you had to relearn everything. But when you hear the news and you listen to the debates going on about all the different wars, what have you learned from this experience?
That we need to put it more out there. I mean, a lot of the kids these days, teenagers, they don't know what we go through, and a lot of people don't know what we go through unless we say it. Or I would say a lot of people don't know what my cane means. They just think it's a walking stick. Well, it's not. No, these are my eyes right here.
Mm-hmm.
People will walk. They'll just shrug me, like this, while they're walking, because they don't know what this is. And I think it's a shame, because everybody should know what this cane represents. That not just a veteran, but a civilian is visually impaired.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot more respect for those that are handicapped, those that need help from the government. But let's talk about the Congress and President and their policies. Are you for what's going on in Iraq right now?
Or Afghanistan?
Iraq.
Oh, no, Iraq, you're right.
I'd say yes and no.
Okay. What is your stand?
I'd say one. I would say one. I don't want us to be out there, but I know we got to do what we got to do. That's what we're here for. And in my opinion, I would rather be over there, than having war over here. Because 9/11, it took a lot of our civilians out. Our firemen, our police officers, and innocent people. Just they're here 1 minute, the next minute they're gone.
Yeah. So, Kenny, what? I see you still wear the uniform.
I always wear it.
You always wear the uniform.
I always
That's
wear it.
great. You earned it. That's for darn sure.
Thank you. I always wear it. Never regret it. I sad or not, I won't regret it.
So tell us a little bit about your training over there. What is it that you trained in, and what did you do for the military?
Oh, I can't tell you that.
Oh, top secret.
I have to kill you. No, kill him.
Basically, I was a 19th Delta Cavalry Scout, so my job was reconnaissance. So which basically means I go look for trouble. I go and find the bad guys, the enemies. I find them, out there. I call in for, let them know. I call for support. My objective is not to let them see me, because then if they see me, then I know, of course, I got to take care of business.
Mm-hmm.
We did checkpoints out there. We drive around letting the people out there know that we're out here patrolling. Watching over I guess the mayors or governors,
Can't do that.
the little provinces and towns out there in Afghanistan. And but mainly was just to go and find the
Taliban.
the Taliban. So basically, look for trouble.
Yeah. Francis, I know this had to have been just a shock to you when this first happened. Tell us something about your story. How did you find out, and how long before you were able to see him?
Oh, that was the longest couple of days ever.
Oh, my
because
gosh.
when the military calls you, they really don't tell you anything. They just said your son's been shot, and that's it. And they let us know that he was shot. They didn't let us know where or anything. They got back to us a couple of days later, and they said, get on a plane, because that's when they thought he was not going to make it.
So you had to fly to where?
They wanted me to fly to Germany, but then at the last minute, he was stationed out of Fort Drum, New York. So they had me fly down to New York, and they were going to medevac him to Walter Reed. So they wanted me closer to Washington. So they flew me to Fort Drum, New York. That's where he was stationed at. And then as soon as the medevac landed, they called me, and I was at D.C. within a couple of hours. In a jet, they flew me to Walter Reed.
And that's.
But honestly, they did not expect him to live.
But you knew then that he had a head wound.
Or yes, but the first 2 days, I didn't know anything. I was just waiting around the house because they just said your son's been shot, and that was it. Not where or nothing. So I just waited around the house for a couple of days, and those were the longest days.
Oh, I can imagine that.
Because they really don't tell you anything. And then when they did tell me, that's when they called me to go, and then they told me that he'd been shot in the head. And of course, my first was, is he going to be blind? That he would, because the bullet had taken both his eyes out.
So,
So
Kenny,
that was the hardest thing.
so Kenny, how long did it take you to wake up?
It
Were
took
you weeks in a coma, or were you?
I was
They injected him into a coma because of the pain. So they had to put
maybe
him in a coma.
about 4 weeks.
4 weeks? Okay.
Because I mean, as soon as I got shot, I was still up. I ran to my cot. I got my rifle. I thought it was enemy fire, so I was trying to run outside to, go fire back. But by the time I made it to my little door, I just fell.
He flatlined.
I just flatlined completely. And then, they flew me to Kuwait. I still didn't know what was going on. And, I'm out of it. From Kuwait to Germany, I'm out. From Germany to Walter Reed, I'm out. And then I'm in ICU for 3-4 weeks. And I just wake up, and next thing you know, I'm in a wheelchair, and doctor comes in, looks at me, and he don't say nothing. So I'm just like, hey, doc. And he's like, who said that? I said, I did. And he's like, you're alive? I was like, yeah, I'm talking. And I was...
He thought he was dead.
He thought, that I was just, I was dead. And I was like, no, what do you think? And he's like, well, can't believe you're talking. I was like, well, yeah, there's nothing to do here. And I'm like, no, what do you think? He's like, well, you can't see. And I was like, well, I know that. So I got bandages wrapped around my head. And he's like, well, I just can't believe you're alive. And he started rubbing his eyes, I guess, and I just, can I get some water or something? I'm kind of thirsty. But it took about, I'd say 3-4 weeks before I could actually knew what was going on.
Because they flew him from Kandahar to Kuwait, but they took a long time to get him out of Kandahar because the airport was under fire. So it took him a long time to get to Kuwait. So when they finally got him to Kuwait and they were trying to sew up that big hole, the doctors in Kuwait gave him the wrong medication. So he flatlined again. The doctors in the Kuwaiti hospital gave him the wrong medication. So that's when the American doctor walked in. That's Dr. Michael, because we still keep in touch. And he says, what are y'all doing? And come to find out, they were giving him the wrong medication. That's why he had flatlined. So the American doctor got in there and brought him back. That's another miracle right there in itself.
Well, I tell you,
It's a lot of little miracles.
this young man's hard to kill.
Well, I tell you what, when I was pregnant with him, I had cervical cancer. And he was a couple of months, and I was just barely a couple of months, and the doctor says, I have to go in. I said, what about my baby? He said, 50-50 chance. He came out kicking, screaming. So he's got 7 lives. I said, Dad, you're running out of lives here.
So Francis, I can, being a parent, and I have a couple of sons that are talking about going to the military. And I know, as a matter of fact, Ben also, one of his sons is talking going to Marine Corps. We can just imagine the anguish that you must have been in. When did you see the turnaround? When you see, you know what, he's going to be okay? How long for that said that, you know what, he's going to make it? Now he's going to have a change of life here. How long did that take?
When I saw him, I was afraid to go when I got to Walter Reed, and I was afraid to go into ICU to see him because I didn't know what I was going to be seeing, you know. So I just prayed and walked in there, and he knew who I was. So I knew he was going to be okay.
I said
He's strong.
peekaboo.
He's a very strong young man. He's been through a lot, and I knew he was going to make it. And then when I saw his surgeon, the one that was going to do the 10, she was a very young lady, red hair, green eyes, very petite, and she said, "I'm going to be his surgeon." I said, "What?" Because she was so young. And she says, "But I'll keep in touch with you every hour. I'll let you know what's going on." And she did a great job. It was a long 10 hours, but when he came out, he had staples from ear to ear, but he was doing fine. He did fine.
So you have brothers and sisters?
Yes.
How many brothers and sisters?
Kenny?
Oh, I have 2 sisters.
2 sisters? Younger, older?
Older.
Older, okay.
He's a baby.
You're the baby. Still the baby.
Yes.
That'll never change.
No.
No.
I don't care how old he gets.
And
He's
do they
my
live
baby.
here in Houston?
Yes, we live in Katy.
Okay.
He was awarded a home by the helpingahero.org.
Okay.
It's an organization that he belongs to, and we've given away 100 homes in 22 states in the United States
Okay.
to veterans that are 100% or more. And this November, if anybody knows of a veteran that needs a home, he needs to file an application. We're taking applications now. November the 17th at our November Gala, we will be awarding another 40 homes this coming year. So anybody that knows anybody that needs a home, just tell them to put an application with helpingahero.org, and we'll be glad to help them out. He was the first one to get a home,
Awesome.
and he picked his house and to be in Katy. So that's why we live in Katy.
So you have a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom?
A 5-bedroom.
5-bedroom.
Five
Whoa,
bedrooms,
big
swimming
house.
pool, yeah.
5 bedrooms, 4 baths, living room, kitchen.
Now tell me, what are you going to do with 4 baths? Come on. Now we're overdoing it.
Formal,
Really nice house.
formal living room, dining room, 4-car garage, swimming pool.
The whole
Yeah.
bit.
Hey, yeah.
Man,
That's
I'll tell you
great,
what.
man.
That's
I
good.
tell you, if anyone deserves it, this young man here deserves it.
He does.
Oh, thank
So you
you.
live by
He
yourself?
does. No, my husband and I live with him.
Okay.
We live with
okay.
him, yes.
Well, good deal.
Yeah, so it's good for us too.
So everybody benefited. So let's
Yeah.
talk about your blog a little bit. So do you have, I'm assuming you have followers on your blog.
We have a few.
Okay.
We have more than a few, actually, but yes,
Okay.
we do.
And so the followers, where do they track you down? How do they find the blog?
It's actually running through Facebook, and it's
Okay.
through the Silent Heroes Facebook page. And you just go onto Facebook, type in Silent Heroes into the search engine, and we'll pop up. And I really push for people to follow us only because, like I mentioned before, my whole point is to get the younger generation to understand what like I said, what he's going through, what other veterans went through. And it's just another light. It's not necessarily the negative things of what happened, but what they're doing now as civilians. I went to his house and hung out with him with my 5-year-old daughter, and we had a blast. We hung out with him. We were playing pool, or in the what is it, the game room, right?
Game room, mhm.
In the game room.
Game room.
And I actually wrote a blog about it, and it's just amazing the stories that you hear from these veterans. I mean, I think, like I said, I've learned a lot more, and I enjoy it. And the reason why I took my daughter is because at the first event that we had for Silent Heroes, which was back in 2012, she had no idea, 4 years old, had no idea what war was, did not understand it. And she saw him, and the first thing she said was, "Can I go talk to him?" And we were like, "Okay, sure, let's go ahead." So she went up to you, and I don't know what she asked you, to be honest. I just know she had questions going on in her head. And since then, she's just, "Kenny this and Kenny that, and when can we go see Kenny?" And that's why I took her to your house, and I saw the interest and the spark in her. This is a 4-year-old. And I said, you know what? I'm pretty sure there's 20-year-olds, 24-year-olds who don't know anything about these veterans. They know there's Veterans Day. They know there's Memorial Day. They know they have family who were in the war, but do they actually understand what they went through? And that's what I'm doing. I'm a branch off of what my cousin David Cortez is doing, and I'm just helping them understand it a little more. And I enjoy it. It's actually interesting for me as well.
Do you ever snow ski? Because he's been snow skiing now that he's blind. He's done so many more things now that he's blind than when he could see. He's driven 2
Actually, I'm a
race
pretty good skier, man.
You are?
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Hey, brother.
and he is too. So hey, go skiing with Kenny. He knows how to snow ski.
I can race, actually.
He was in he did 2 races.
Two races.
He did 2
Really?
race cars. He did 2 tracks. Colleen and here in
Now, I got to see
Hey,
this.
man.
I got to see this. How how do you drive a race car when you're blind? Tell me.
It's easy. I drive what you do: steering wheel, gas pedal.
There you go.
How do you know which way to turn?
Well, you made Speed Racer did it, remember?
I have a
The newscaster had to jump out of the way because Kenny was coming right at him.
I have a co-pilot with me
Co-pilot.
on the right side, and no, he tells me left, right, left most of the time. And above him by a dashboard, he has a kill switch, you know, in case I get in any trouble.
He just hit the
Which I didn't care about racing. No, my biggest thing was I just want to drive. You know,
He loves to
without
drive.
without getting in trouble. What place I come in, I could care less.
Yeah,
And,
He won though.
That's great.
but they have go-karts.
No.
Now he'll go into his garage and he'll turn his truck on, and you know he'll a little bit back and forth, but you know that's why he won't take it out of the driveway. He won't take it out of the driveway.
If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it the right way.
That's cool.
A race car.
And no, not go karts. Race cars, skiing,
Swim with the dolphins.
swimming with the dolphins, water skiing,
He's done it quite a bit.
rock climbing.
Rock climbing.
That was a challenge,
Where
but he
at?
did it.
I do it whenever I go on little, I guess vacations, and they have rock climbing walls. I'll go rock climbing. To prove to
Himself, really.
to myself, and people who say, oh, I can't do that. Well, if I can do it, which it takes me a little while to do, because I got to search for every single rock everywhere.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it. I've gone with Bo Derek.
You went with Bo Derek?
Yeah,
Cool.
They were at the beach.
that's how I roll.
Hey. Well, I can't roll with you because I'm married, but you know.
I've gone rock climbing with Bo Derek, skiing.
We've
If my
done-
wife lets me go with you with Bo, I will be there.
That's his wife, by the way. You see that face over there?
Shaking her head no.
No, but I was going to say, for Kenny being a blind veteran, he is a very, very happy person.
You know,
I
Kenny,
mean,
that
he has a smile on his face.
this
every day.
man is a true
Every
American
day.
hero.
Every day.
True
Well-
American hero.
Well, let
I'm
me
just
thank
so
y'all
glad-
for
I'm
coming
thankful
out.
for that.
We've run out of time, unfortunately. I know you want to keep on going. At first, we were all nervous, and now look at you. But thank y'all for coming out, and we would love to have you again one day.
No, Francis, thank you for your service to your country.
Oh, thank
By
you.
keeping this young man,
Oh, yes.
having him and having that kind of patriotism for him to serve his country and to have the attitude he has now. You've done a fantastic job. My hat's off to you.
Well, we've run out of time. We'll be back next Monday, live television, 6 p.m. every Monday. You going to be here next Monday?
I'll be here next Monday.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Bye.